conversations going on. I am going to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to start with roll call. Larry?
Here.
Ren? Here. Ashley? Here. Jeannie? Here. Jane? Here. And Mary has stepped
Maybe she just went to the restroom.
Okay. All right, and our students, Musab?
Here.
Dylan? Thank you very much. Notice of meeting?
The meeting was properly noticed.
I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Now, if you would stand with me to do the pledge, please. All right, we do not have a spotlight tonight, so we're going to go straight into salutes and recognitions. We're going to start with Musab.
Yes, Musab, this is the swan song for him tonight with his last meeting after 2 years as student rep. And we have a gift. Do you have a gift for Musab?
I sure do.
But she's getting that too, Musab. I'll just, make my comments here as long as I'm already talking. I think you've done a great job representing your fellow students and really appreciate the many hours you've sat at this table with us and the reports that you've provided, and I think you've done a great job, and we're excited to see what you do next and wish you the best of luck.
And he's our third, right? He's our third.
Saab is our third
Yep.
student rep.
So I've only known to be aboard with a student rep, and I'm just constantly impressed and amazed at what you guys do for us. I can't thank you enough, and like Mike said, we just wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you.
And Musab, off to school where? I forget.
UW-Madison.
You'd be off to Madison. All right, jump around.
And if you're in Pewaukee on a night when we have a board meeting, you can come up and give us an update on what
Case-
you're up to.
Yeah, in case you need a fix. You miss the board meetings.
We'll let you leave earlier too.
Yeah. You can still leave by 9 or earlier. Leave whenever you want.
And his parents are here too.
Yes,
Congratulations. Thank you
yes,
for
thank you.
having them come. So
All right. Any other salutes, recognitions? Yep.
Dylan?
It's just been great to serve with you. You've been a great mentor in this role and just a great teammate, and I can't thank you enough for the guidance you've given me. Thank you, and good luck.
And you're ready to step into that mentoring role, right?
Yep. Now the pressure's on, Dylan.
I don't think anyone could have prepared me better.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
that's nice.
Musab's trained you well, and now you're the leader.
All right, I had a couple salutes. I wanted to salute the Horizon Encore teachers for the Encore night that took place. The new thing that we started this year that I was just saying, I said it's brilliant, and I can't believe we never thought of it before, the military commits and the signings that they did. And so I want to salute Brian and the guidance staff at the high school for that. I just thought that was a super cool event. And then I'm not sure who to salute, so I'll probably just say you for top workplace. Nice job.
Thank you, and Colin's here tonight. Colin has a lot to do with that, and really, what's great about Top Workplace is that's the staff, selecting us as a top workplace with their response to that survey that goes out. So, but yeah, that's I think 11 of the last 12 years.
I noticed, Mike, there are very few other school districts listed this year, too. Usually there are more.
Yeah, I know Grafton was in there, but I'm not sure who else.
Elmbrook,
Elmbrook.
I think Elmbrook was.
Skigo Norway was in
Go
there.
Norway.
Yeah, they're usually in there. Yeah, it's great to be recognized for that, and we work really hard to try to make this a good place to work, and we're certainly not perfect, but that's evidence of a level of satisfaction. So we're proud of that.
Does anyone else have anything?
Have anything? Yeah, I want to recognize Dr. Colin Jacobson back, who formerly had his hooding ceremony at graduation at Cardinal Stritch.
Nice.
So I don't know if you know. So for those of you who don't know, when you receive your PhD, your doctorate, they hood you as a part of graduation, and so, and
Unless you graduate during a global pandemic.
unless, yeah,
And you get,
Not so
you get
much.
a box sent
With a
to
hood.
you.
Is that what
No,
you
just
received?
with a
Yeah.
license plate holder. That's all I got.
that's all that you got?
True story.
I hope it was metal and not plastic.
Plastic.
Oh.
And
Only the finest.
interestingly, in the very last commencement to be held at Cardinal Stridge, sadly, it was very, sad to see that university is closing its doors, but, because they've produced a lot of graduates, their PhD program was one of the best in Wisconsin that had the most candidates, so that's gonna be a loss for the state, but congratulations to Colin for that achievement.
All right. Moving on to comments from citizens. Do we have any cards? No? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. We had the minutes from the previous meetings, the regular meeting, and business affairs on May 8th. We had some correspondence in our packet. We did not have any gifts, but then we did have the policies. Should I go over all the numbers? The policies as listed. How about that?
Very efficient.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the
Move to
consent
approve
agenda?
the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on to old business, we have the final motion or the final movement on the science curriculum. Danielle?
I did not receive any questions from the community, and the only board question I received is Mary wanted to take a look at the AP Biology textbook, which she has with her this evening for review, and so that is the only thing that I got regarding science, but I'm happy to answer any other questions if anybody had anything.
I have some questions. 141,000. Did you give us a line item for that last meeting?
I didn't provide the line item. I had noted that if you wanted to view any of that you could make an appointment with me. I gave some of the summary buckets.
So the
So I
breakdown,
understood that you were only considering to replace AP Biology.
That was one of the new texts, yes. The other ones are just renewals of existing materials, so they're 5-year digital renewals that we have to do every 5 years.
So the digital renewals is the basis for the 141?
Yes.
Okay, and then the 6,000 is on top of that, or is it part of that? For the
That's
books, I'm
part
sorry,
of that,
Daniel.
part of that, yep, that's the total amount.
And why do we have to renew it?
Because we only have digital access for 5 years, and then they adjust their prices, and so that's how, basically, you used to have hard textbooks that would have to be renewed, you'd have to get new ones every handful of years when they would wear out as the world moved to a more digital platform. This was the textbook company's solution to how to still make their money, is the bottom line. So in order for us to have access to that resource, we have to have license with them.
What is the cost of this book?
That's the 6,000. It's each one is, I can pull it up real quick. It's like 100 something, but I can pull that up real fast. Second.
North of 100 is fine.
Yeah, just a little bit north of 100, which is pretty standard for a textbook. It's
So I'm-
$128.97 per book.
Okay, so I'm just puzzled by 141,000 being spent on a curriculum that doesn't change. I mean, I understand you're saying that those are resources that we're accessing again and again, but they're not changing. I mean, this is what I learned.
Mhm.
So, and this is all available on the web. I mean, I don't need this book to do this.
That particular book is.
No, not
is
this particular book, the knowledge in the book. I can get this knowledge all over the web. So that would be my concern. I'm not seeing,
So along with the actual
Why we're doing this.
resources comes a variety of also teacher materials. So that digital access also provides teachers with presentation, provides them with assessments that they can use to reference, provides them with lesson plan ideas. So it provides them more of a template for them
Right.
to be able to use to, and strategies to walk students through that new
Right.
learning, because it's new learning for the students. And so that's what that resource provides as well. So it's not just the actual textbook itself.
Right, but you're describing things that a good teacher knows how to do. And you're describing things that a good teacher would have known 5 years ago, which is what you're saying this is going to replace. So they're bringing forward a whole bunch of knowledge and a whole bunch of tools already that you just described. They've already got that. They know what to do with students. They're not uneducated in their field.
Yeah, so yeah, correct. They're not uneducated in their field. However, an elementary teacher teaches multiple subjects, so to be able to have a resource for them, it's also a resource for students to be able to access. So it's not just the teacher resource. Students are also able to be on the digital platform and, do different learning activities along the way.
I understand that, and thank you for that. My thought would be, we've already got this in abundance. 6 ways from Sunday, we've got it on the web, we've got it in our talent that's already here, and we've got it from the stuff we've already had. So I'm not, I would not be in favor of doing this. And I certainly would I would defer that opinion if you would give me the line item stuff. I didn't see that, and I apologize. It says on your memorandum that you're going to discuss it at the board meeting, and I couldn't find it, so that, I would be willing to look at that. But as a teacher and as a science teacher, I know this, I know where it's available, and I know what it does to a teacher when you change the book. Not a good thing, usually. When the teacher is driving that, that's a different story altogether. So I'm puzzled with the 141. I didn't see that at the last board meeting. I saw the book and the 6,000. So I missed that.
So
Sorry about that.
so the teachers did select any of these, so, there were many, many courses where the teachers decided, nope, it's absolutely fine, the resource that we have. This particular one, the AP Biology one, the college board had made some changes to the curriculum, and so that book in particular is aligned to those changes, and so that teacher felt like she was now at a point where we needed a different textbook. So it's our teacher teams that dictate and decide, whether or not they need to make any resource changes or updates to it. So it's not my recommendation for those resources. That's our teacher team that decides whether or not they need and feel like they need to have those resources.
Thank you for that, Danielle. I would be opposed to the 141 expenditure on this 141,000.
How long is the subscription? So our renewal will be good for how long?
5 years.
So then roughly that's like $50 per student for 5 years.
Okay, are there any other questions about the science curriculum? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the science curriculum revisions as presented.
Second.
All in favor of approving the science curriculum revisions as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to new business.
Point of order, is that a roll call vote?
No. I think Julie knows that it was 6-1.
Could we do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Thank you.
Larry? Do you approve of the curriculum?
So,
Aye.
yes, yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Mary?
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Stacy, your vote is?
Yes, sorry. Thanks, Mike, for counting me.
No problem.
Education for employment.
This is right back to Danielle.
Yeah, so this is a action or a plan that comes in forward to you each year. So this is a legislative requirement that Each year, the board reviews a education for employment plan that really outlines the various things that we do to make sure that our students are prepared for the world beyond the school district when they leave us here. And so there's specific components to that plan that are required by law for us to identify and explain our activities around. And so Adriana Plock, our continuous improvement coordinator, she spearheads the updating of this each year. So your memo there, and she's here with us tonight to answer any questions, but the memo includes the highlights of any changes or really updates that we made to the plan from last year. And either Adriana or myself are happy to take any questions or explain anything further, if you'd like.
I really appreciated the materials that you sent us in the board packet. It was very informative.
Second that, Danielle. The, especially the legislative stuff. Knowing where that's coming from was very helpful.
And I think the information just highlighted again, how important it is to hopefully get some of our kids interested in the trades. And when you look at the earning potential, it really is there for a lot of the trades.
Absolutely.
I love that it says, expansion of future-ready goals, including additional industry certification options. Can we talk about that? What would those options, those additional options be?
Yeah, and Adriana, feel free to come up to the mic if you want to add to it as well. So we're always looking, so there's a CTE incentive grant that the Department of Labor produces for us in Wisconsin each year. That's one area that we'll always look at because that's a spot where for every certification that is earned that's on that list, we can apply and we get roughly $700 to $800 back for each certification, depending on the number of applicants each year. So we're always looking at that one. I think one that we have been looking at recently is an Adobe one. There's a number of tech ed ones. We were speaking with our new tech ed teacher, and you know, he might have some interesting ones for us to look at as well. So Microsoft Office is the one that we have the highest number of students, along with our CNA, which is built into our Elements of Health and Medicine program and Insight. You know, obviously, like the aviation ones we added this year as well. So, Adriana, what am I missing of ones maybe we've discussed?
No, you hit a lot of the main ones. Some areas where I think we're going to specifically target growth for next year is we're looking at embedding Adobe, as Danielle mentioned, into one of our Insight courses that historically has not had an industry certification affiliated with it. Another area is our technology support internship strand of the Insight program has just exploded in the last year in terms of the numbers of students that are interested, and that is a course where students can pursue multiple industry certifications. So we have students that have exhausted the list of certifications that we have previously offered, and they are also, I think, as a result of the personalized learning journey, they are coming to us with more specific requests, looking for options that more closely align with what their ultimate goals are. So I had a student reach out, as an example, who is interested in becoming a soundboard operator as a career and wanted to know if there were industry certifications that they could pursue to help them move towards that career while still in high school. So we're really kind of getting a little bit more creative with some of the things that we're looking for.
So kind of the real crux of this, in my head anyway, so what does that mean for the student and for the potential employer of these students? What does it mean? Why is it important?
You know, I think a lot of times our students are entering the post-high school world or post-secondary world with great, solid, rigorous educations under their belt. The part that oftentimes employers want is experience. And trying to give our students opportunities to demonstrate experience that they have acquired through their education is helpful in opening doors for them in the future. So if we can help a student acquire an industry certification that then allows them to demonstrate that they have experience using this type of technology, or that they have experience working with patients, that opens the door for them in ways that an education alone cannot.
I think for the businesses, I mean, it can translate into real dollars for them. You know, there's plenty of businesses that will pay for their employees to complete Microsoft, you know, certification. And while it's not terribly expensive, you multiply that times all the employees that they want to have that done, right? That adds up to their bottom line. And so for somebody to come in with that already taken care of, that's money they don't have to spend. And it also means it's an employee who can hit the ground running maybe a little bit faster, which, you know, you can't necessarily always quantify in real dollars, the efficiencies and effectiveness that an employee can make over a less effective or efficient employee. But, you know, we all know that does, you know, certainly help the bottom line for businesses.
Definitely in the world of CNAs, it's a door opener.
Absolutely, absolutely. And stepping stone, right, to,
Right.
you know.
Nursing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
You know, speaking of that, where are we at as far as our students in showing interest in the nursing programs? And when we talk about some of those institutions, you know, that can work with us to give our students greater experiences, do some of our local healthcare organizations like Freighter, ProHealth, Aurora, are they involved with us in helping our kids get some really neat experiences to help them want to go into those fields?
Yeah, so I mean, coming out of COVID, like we saw a little bit of a downturn in our students in elements of health and medicine, but we saw an upturn in students interested in working in mental health industry. And so our Serving Others course is really kind of what's starting to appeal to students that were interested in mental health. And part of the kind of the frustration on the, I guess, more traditional healthcare pathways was that getting their CNA certification got really wonky during COVID. There were really limited test sites, and so it was hard for our kids to get certifications. Now this year that finally got kind of cleaned up again, and I think 16 of our 18 students, that number's pretty close, I think, got certified, and I believe we have at least 4 who are actively working as CNAs already. So I think we're seeing it definitely turn back around and be more solid, you know. And every year, though, we also have 2, 3, 4 students in that course who start the CNA certification and then decide that is not the pathway, right? They see blood for the first time, they see other fluids for the first time, and they're like, nope, I'm out, you know? And
Yeah.
that's great too. Like, that's why we do it as well, is that, you know, get that learning now while it's free for them, and they don't get too far down a pathway that they realize ultimately is the wrong one for them, so.
And in regards to partnerships, we work very closely with Aurora, and then Kirkland Crossings is one that we have a great partnership with for getting our students who have earned their CNA in the door and working with patients right away.
Just kind of curious, Ms. Sauber, Dylan, were you guys ever able to, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious, have either of you earned certifications?
I can
coursework?
comment on the CNA certification.
Yeah.
'Cause I was able to earn that this year, and I would just say it's like one of the most valuable experiences I've had in my schooling experience, just because it provided me that door into the medical field, or it provided me like a window of, is this the right thing for me? Is this really what I want to do? Because a lot of what you do in the CNA world is hands-on patient experience, and it's not something you're going to get from a classroom or working with a mannequin or something like that. So I found it very valuable, and I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to do it for free with the school. And then in regards to just partnerships with other medical organizations or other organizations around the community, I know in our course we've had multiple guest speakers and different job shadow opportunities through the course, which have been valuable for me as well. So we're not only getting the hands-on experience through CNA, but also just working with professionals, mentors, working with local doctors from around the community has just been really valuable for me.
The other thing too, Mike, is even if you're not going into the medical field, CNA is a great skill to have, because it's a great part-time job when you're trying to earn money going through school.
Yeah, for sure. Dylan, you were gonna say?
I haven't had any, or I haven't obtained any yet. I'm currently working towards one in accounting. I actually take the certification test on Wednesday, so I have some studying to do for that. But, it has been really valuable just learning what I like and don't like, because through it I've actually learned that maybe accounting isn't my thing. I like dealing with.
It's okay, John.
numbers,
It's
but-
okay.
Sorry.
Stacy, pretty cool.
James.
I'm gonna tell your mom.
No, I've told her myself, but it has been really insightful to kind of like have the mentor to talk to and learn not only what you're doing on the job and how to do it, but also what comes with, I guess, the life alongside of the job. Like I talked to my mentor about work-life balance and how that's been for him, and just things like that have been really valuable to learn.
Dylan, what's the certification that you guys are getting in accounting? I should know this, but I
For
forget.
Intuit.
Okay, into it.
That will serve you well, even if you don't go into accounting.
And Dylan, I have your mentor request for next year, so if you change your mind on that, let me know soon.
Bill and the three of us are just gonna take the daggers out of our hearts now. It's totally fine.
All right.
Danielle, we get revenue.
Yeah,
From
yeah,
those
so,
certifications.
yeah, so on average, it's anywhere from roughly like 25,000 to just over $30,000 a year that we get from our certifications and stuff. So, and I believe this year, we're gonna be really close. We'll see what the final numbers come in here as students continue to take them, but I think we're gonna have our highest year yet this year. So we're roughly, I think, around 35 or 40 students and stuff, so,
That's a-
of the senior class, I should say.
So, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's money that we're getting from it. But do you know, okay, so I gotta think about this. Where is that money coming from and why is the state paying for it, paying us to do that?
Yeah, so it's part of, I want to make sure that I say it correctly. Oh, and I should also mention, we get it for some of our WCTC students as well, so those that take like EMT, firefighting, we get that as well. So it's through the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, is who does that. So it's sponsored through that grant initiative program. So, and we even saw that there's some talk to actually double that amount, stuff, nothing that has officially taken place yet, but something that they're talking about actually doubling that grant amount.
So some of that was a little bit set up in terms of my attending the dual enrollment academy kind of thing, because you're exactly right. I mean, this is the way that the state government is helping to fund and support some of the industries and or jobs where there's shortages of people. So here they are helping to encourage us as school district to get students to potentially enroll in some of those programs, so.
Other questions?
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the Education for Employment E4E plan as presented.
Second?
All in favor of approving the Education for Employment as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to Employee Handbook. Thank you, Adriana.
Thanks, Adriana. All right, and I can ask Dr. Jacobs to come on down. So every year we do, we take a look at the employee handbooks, and again, different employee groups have their own addendums to the overall employee handbook. We get legal updates and those kinds of things that, so legislation might change, we might get some kind of advice that can influence items that may be modified in the handbook. And so we work as a senior leader group along with Colin, who's primarily responsible for bringing those changes forward. So without further ado, I'll stop talking and turn it over to you.
No, thank you. And hopefully that cover memo with the summation of changes gives you a snapshot in addition to the pages and pages that Julie pulls together and really helps give you a glance for the main handbook section as well as each employee group addendum. So In the main handbook section, there was an update. We did have kind of the nice combination compared to years past of less federal changes in the law, so minimal changes there, and then less internal changes that we decide on as a district. So rewind a year ago, we added another personal day that had handbook implications. So less of those types of things. So overall, not a great number of changes, but some annual details that are nice just to brush up on. So in the main handbook, there was an update that I went in and changed for the cover memo as well to really capture a federal law for armed forces. And credit to Jeannie for catching that. The Space Force was a federal addition to the Armed Forces listing. So the traditional 4 branches that we think of, as well as Coast Guard, we can add Space Force to that officially. So that has a legal implication for armed services leave, military service leave. So those were all updated in the main section. If any staff member would have to leave for that reason of Space Force, the same federal provision goes with them as it would active duty for an Army service member or a Coast Guard member who's deployed. So that's in the main section. In the administrator section, some details for the overall organizational chart. So high school dean of students as well as middle school dean of students. So that was delineated. Some updates to federal IRS limits that pertain to the flex spending accounts. So sorry, Dylan, a little more accounting. IRS limits increase. I have to give Mr. Gahan a shout out for keeping tabs on that. And then lastly, the retirement language that implicates hires around 14-15 got much more detailed instead of when staff were hired, because they could be hired from February 2014 to August. It really pinpointed their start date, which would be much closer to the actual start of the school year. So usually an August date, sometimes a September date. So a handbook change there, really just to give some more clarity as it pertains to retirement and qualification. So any questions on those details? All right. Those same themes carry over into the confidential support. There was clarifying language because we did add the role of data and assessment specialist. So Becky Cook fills that role, and Candace Bentley Held has a new title for the Director of Data and Assessment. So that was added and updated in the handbook in that section. The flex spending maximums, as well as the org chart, those were updated as well. Those themes carried through in the custodial addendum, the food service addendum, the paraprofessionals, and the secretary addendum as well. So same updates through all of those addendums. Okay. Any questions overall? All right, you can see the change in language is redlined and added, so it stands out a little bit, so you have access to all that.
Thank you for
Thank you
providing the
very
summary,
much.
though. That was really helpful.
You're welcome.
All right. If we have no questions, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the employee handbook and addenda as presented for the 23-24 school year.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to open enrollment.
Right, open enrollment, over to you, John.
You have a pretty detailed memo that's in the packet that gives information about the open enrollment acceptance. So when you're thinking about open enrollment, really the key thing is looking at that snapshot date. How many students do we have here early December? And we use that to make a recommendation to the board that in their January meeting, then they will adopt and open officially a number of seats for the year. We opened 36 seats for this upcoming year. That number is down. It goes along with our philosophy in open enrollment to fill the seats where we have capacity. With the houses that are being constructed and the developments that are going on in the community, we want to slow that number of seats down to maintain class sizes and maintain where we're at as we see more residents enrolling in the district. A couple of questions that came up as part of the information that was out there. We have 36 seats. We have 43 tuition waiver students. So by policy, the board gives preference in two different groups of students. One is siblings of currently attending students, where they get first preference to any available seats. The second preference is given to tuition waiver students. So think of that snapshot date. They're already in a seat while they're here. They were previously residents but had moved out of the district. They already are occupying a seat. They're allowed to continue through open enrollment in that seat. So they don't need to have one available for them to move into the next year. This year is one of the largest years that we've had of 43 students that are currently attending under a tuition waiver, who have also applied then to continue next year through open enrollment. So one of the questions was clarifying on those tuition waiver students and those preferences that we have in the policy. Second question of clarification had to do with one of the tables with applications for outgoing students. These are students who are applying to go somewhere else, who are residents of the district. We had 47 total students, but only 10 of those students are currently attending Pewaukee School District. So what kind of situations would occur if a student was not attending here but was a resident and applied to go somewhere else under open enrollment? We see this a lot in 4K because we have community partner sites. The districts surrounding us run their 4K programs through community partner sites. We run ours in-house. That daycare that is the community partner site likely has had that child in daycare from 6 months old all the way up until they're turning 4. It's for the families, it's a half-day 4K program. They have wraparound care that's already there for the rest of it, and they're staying in the same place that they've been for the entire day. I believe there's 14 or 15 students that have applied to go out that way. Other cases are exactly what we experienced, but in reverse. A family lived in another district, they bought a house in Pewaukee, but their kids want to continue in that district. So they apply for open enrollment, they've never attended here, they're currently as a tuition waiver in the other district. Same thing with virtual schools. If a student may hit a point in their education where they want to, maybe in home-based private instruction, and they want to expand their access to curriculum in that, and they go through a virtual enrollment process. So they've never attended here, but they're residents, and now they're open enrolling to go to one of the virtual programs in the state. So that's how we can have 37 of the 47 students never having been here in attendance. So you have two motions. In January, when the board took the action, we also had an extensive review of the seat availability that we projected in our special ed programming. So the first motion you'll have will be to accept the 36 students. These are drawn from random drawing, and if the number of applications exceeded the seats available, we created wait lists for that. So if one family that was selected elects not to take the seat, we move to the next student on the wait list and on down until the wait list is exhausted. So the motion is to accept the number of students in each of those seats that were drawn and also establish the wait list at those grade levels where we had seats available. Those seats will stay closed until that wait list is exhausted, or we hit the third Friday in September. That's when the wait list, whoever remains on the wait list, it expires, and then we can begin taking alternative applications up until the next January again. The second motion is the denials and the denial for closed programming for notifying those families. Are there any questions?
Just to clarify, John, the way it's written in the agenda is that we would move to accept 79 because of the tuition waivers?
Correct.
Is that the correct way to word
The
that?
36 seats that are available plus the tuition waiver students under preference, yes.
Does anyone have any questions for John? Who wants to take a stab at this rather wordy motion?
Sure, I'll do it.
Thank you, Jane.
So I move to accept 79 open enrollment students, 36 seats, plus 43 tuition waiver students.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Jane?
All right. I move to create a wait list for 22 students at 4K, wait list 16 students at 5K, and deny 4 students at 5K due to the program they applied for being closed, special education. Wait list 5 students at grade 1 and deny 2 students due to the program that they applied for being closed, special education. Wait list 3 students at grade 2, deny 2 students due to the program they applied for being closed, special education. waitlist 6 students at grade 3 and deny 2 students due to the program they applied for being closed, special education. Waitlist 8 students at grade 4 and deny 1 student due to the program they applied for being closed, special education. Waitlist 2 students at grade 5, waitlist 14 students at grade 6 and deny 2 students due to the program they applied for being closed, special education. Waitlist 3 students in grade 7.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Thanks, John. Okay, Danielle.
Yes, so the next item that we have is the Human Growth and Development Committee member selection process. And so the physical education and health curriculum is in its first year, so that will be a curriculum that will be presented to you next spring. Part of that curriculum is human growth and development in our health program. And so the state statute requires that school districts that offer human growth and development have an advisory committee that's appointed by the school board, and it has to be composed of different folks. And in your memo, I gave you that actual language from the state statute. It's very wordy and a bit confusing as far as its calculation of how many people can be on the committee and of which groups comprise that committee. And so the school board does need to appoint that committee, though, so in wanting to be as transparent about the process for how to go about selecting that committee, who's on that committee, and then the board having the authority then to approve that committee. Before we went and just gave you names and said, hey, these are some folks that we think should be on the committee, I wanted to bring forward a recommended process for you to consider for us to use as part of that committee selection process. And so in the memo is linked the draft process. And so again, this is a recommendation coming forward from the curriculum team. But ultimately, this is your process and your committee, so it's your discretion as far as how you'd like to do it. But I'll just explain some background as far as why we are recommending this process for you to have something to work off of. Is that we utilized, DPI has a manual for human growth and development for how schools best go about making sure that they're complying with both state statutes, which does actually dictate a lot about human growth and development and what is and is not allowed in the curriculum. It's pretty straightforward about legally what we can and cannot allow. And so and what the committee takes up of. So the purpose there is identified, and again, that comes from the law and from DPI's recommendations. And then we put forward a proposed recommendation for identification of committee members. DPI provided a handful of different exemplars to work off of. The one that we most closely utilized in order to develop this one was one from Oconomowoc. We felt like that was a good comparison. Obviously, they're our neighbor. They look very similar to us from a community standpoint in many ways. And so they had, and I talked with them, and they had good success with their program and their process. So we just updated that a little bit for the Pewaukee version of that. Again, the opportunity there for board members as well to have input on some of those categories, specifically parents or community members, having board members, if you are so interested in providing names of people for us to reach out to, as well as school administrators. We would have to restrict that, so there would have to be a bit of a lottery draw, again, if that's what you decided you wanted to do. And so there's the process there to review, and then there's also, I provided what the actual breakdown count would be. So based on the number of school district employees, or members, I should say, that really determines how many we need in all of the other categories based on the law. So I put what I believe to be the most minimum number of district personnel on there so that we could have our perspective, but also keep the committee to
a somewhat manageable size. So even with that, it's at 20 people. So if we were to add any school district personnel, that's just going to adjust all the other numbers. So just for example, if we add one more school district personnel, it'll need to bring the entire committee up to 24 because we would need to add in some more so that school district personnel don't outweigh the other categories, which is fine, again, but just so you have the sense as to where we drew this committee from. And then down in step 2, also established some expectations for you to consider. Again, these were based on what DPI recommends and what other districts have set forth as expectations for how the committee, sort of their norms for them to operate off of. The idea is that we would form the committee over the next couple of months. In July, you would take action then to approve the members, actually, of the committee. And then in September, the work would begin. We anticipate probably about 4 to 5 meetings necessary for the committee. So again, the committee isn't going to be writing the curriculum. They're really an advisory committee to making sure that the topics being covered in human growth and development fit the lens of our community and science that goes behind that as well. And so again, the law is pretty well dictates a lot of what can happen in human growth and development. And so we don't, the curriculum team doesn't necessarily anticipate recommending many adjustments to our existing curriculum, but there are some updates that need to be done. And most importantly, there's updates to our resources that need to be done right now because you have to approve the resources. Right now, we're working with some resources and videos that are from like the 1990s. And so they're quite outdated and stuff. But I'm happy to take any questions, would also be happy to take any feedback on adjustments to the process. And stuff. So again, it's really yours to determine. I just wanted to provide you some ideas.
I appreciate that. So board, we have 2 members of our group here that are interested in serving. So under Danielle's proposal, we would only have 1 on the board. So I think we need to have a discussion about how we feel about that. Bren and Ashley have both expressed an interest. It makes a lot of sense with their backgrounds. So I just wanted to encourage some discussion on that. You heard Danielle, if we add 1 more, we have to add 4 more community members. So I'd like to open the floor up to.
I have a question before we get there.
Okay.
This is a program that, the opening sentences of your memorandum say that if the school district is running a health, the HG, the big long one.
Yep.
The rest of this follows.
Yes.
So, 2 things. Did this board already decide that we're going to run that program, that Human and Health and Growth Development Program? And did the board decide that we are moving into no longer sex education, but sexuality education? Has that conversation occurred? Because if that is already done, then of course we're going to go to the committee. But we sort of, your presentation presumed that.
So we have an existing human growth and development component to our health curriculum. So it already is being taught. And so in order to make any changes to that curriculum, including saying if we wanted to say we're not going to teach it at all, right, or that we're going to change it from sex education to sexuality, that would be the work of that committee. So
Of what committee?
of this committee that is being proposed, of the Human Growth and Development Committee. So they would be the ones that would recommend, we are going to talk about these topics. They're going to be the ones that would say, we're no longer going to have it in our curriculum. But right now, it's existing in our curriculum. So if we want to have any edits to it, this committee would do that.
Got it, thank you. Perfect.
Okay, so this is maybe a part of the question. So we potentially have 2 board members who are interested in participating in this, but there's different categories in terms of there's like a parent and then there's a community member.
Their role on the school board is like the superseder of it all because you get paid by the school district. And so they are first and foremost as school district personnel. So And again, it's totally fine if we want to have two and we want to increase that, right? I just wanted to be transparent about what is going to be the total number of people, just from a management standpoint.
So, but then, if you have to add four more, where would those four more have to go?
They would be parents or community members. I'd redo the math just to verify all of that, but yeah, they would come from parents and community members and stuff. Potentially another student we could add. I would want to double check all the math to make sure no one group is too big.
In an effort to make this easier, as a nurse, I've been very interested in this, and I would love to be involved in this committee. But I don't want to make the process more difficult. And when I look at the list of people that are going to serve on this committee, I would not be the only nurse. And so, in the interest of keeping this easier, I'm going to pull my interest back so that Ashley can represent mental health. And I'll just let our school nurse cover the nurse part for me.
Thank you, Bren.
Thanks, Bren.
Good call.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
Ultimately, though, all of this still comes back to the full
Right.
board anyhow.
Correct,
right? So-
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, this is an advisory committee.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the committee formation process? We're just approving the process.
Move to approve the Human Growth and Development Advisory Committee formation process and committee expectations.
Second.
All in favor of approving the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Danielle, thank you, Bren. All right, Mike?
Yeah, all right, so I included a discussion item related to a proposal for summer administrative remote work hours. So we've had some administrators express interest in being able to spend some of their summertime with the flexible option of working from home. And so that's why I bring this forward. In essence, a pilot of allowing a single day per week for 12-month administrative staff between the dates of June 12th and August 4th. And you can see in there kind of the parameters under which that would happen. Would be 1 day a week. We wouldn't be extending weeks. Say at the end of June, we go to the conference at AESA. That would not be a week. We'd want people also taking, being out of the building further to do a remote work. That said, we certainly know this is very common practice. It's becoming a growing expectation. In the end, our administrative staff have to get done the work that they have to get done. I trust them and am confident that this be managed well. So I bring it to you for discussion. I don't know that we necessarily need a motion, although I'd certainly be happy to have one, because I already really have the authority to tell an administrative staff member, sure, you can work from home today as superintendent, but I wouldn't want to kind of create a policy like this and have possible perceptions or anything if you had concerns about it. So with that, I'd take any questions that you have or concerns that you have, and interested as to where you stand with this proposal.
I like this policy. I've said many times, I want to treat our professionals like professionals. And I appreciate also the clarity that you have listed there. Again, I just think that I respect our professionals, and I think that it just makes a lot of sense to give them that flexibility.
So, but during this time period, though, what does that add up to? About 6-7 weeks or somewhere in there?
Yeah.
And then you said one of those would be maybe potentially like leadership week, apply. So, I mean, we're talking about 5 or 6 days per
Yeah.
time period.
Yeah. So theoretically, leadership week Friday, because we don't have leadership week stuff. Leadership week is a 4-day agenda, so there could be a remote work on that Friday, because they'd be on campus for that week.
So, given that this is a pilot, what do you anticipate being your evaluation criteria or rubrics for this?
Well, I don't have a rubric established. I mean, something as technical as see how it goes. If I
I have
you
a
know,
feeling you'll know.
yeah, if I have a sense like people aren't available or we feel like there's any abuses that happen, it was kind of like when we talked about with the teaching staff about the professional flexible time in the afternoons that you supported as a board on those PD days that, there's some ways to ruin this, and that's to, abuse it. And that's the same conversation with admin. It's really that flexible piece and that work-life balance piece that I think it empowers. And again, if for some reason or the other it's problematic, we revise it, change it, put in different parameters, or don't do it.
Well, it's good that it's not during deer hunting week, so otherwise. That's
Sean's not working from his deer stand.
Yeah, we made it clear that it can't be, on your drive up north, on your cell
John.
phone, that doesn't.
I agree with you, Mike. It's your prerogative, it's your responsibility, it's your call. So I'm good with it.
Thank you, Mary.
Did you look for an official motion or just a general?
I don't
Yeah,
think
as
so.
long
I
as
don't
we have
think we need
consensus, I
one,
think
right?
we're fine.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
I
Yep.
don't think it needs one.
Tell us how it went after the summer's over.
Professionals as professionals.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate the support.
Okay, personnel issues. So we had one resignation,
Here.
Lewis.
Yes, so Wendy Lewis, sixth grade teacher, ELA teacher has resigned. You have her letter, and you can see her appreciation for the district. She'll certainly be missed, but I know that hiring process is already in motion because we have two, because Monica Robin is retiring as well, which you've approved previously, so that English language arts middle school hiring process is kind of already underway. So we're in a pretty good spot there.
Good.
So I'd seek your approval for Wendy's resignation.
Motion to accept the resignation of Wendy Lewis.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the resignation of Wendy Lewis, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Then we have three hires today. Scott Gartman, science teacher, PHS. Amber Cordell, second grade teacher recommendation for PLE. And John Zemer. Colin, is that Zemer or Zeimer? Zemer is correct. Hey, I got it right the first time. So John's would be replacing Pete Caldwell, Amber replacing Julie Schmidt, and Scott replacing Marissa Woodward. I've had the opportunity to interview each of them and find them to be really good candidates, and I'm excited to add them to our staff. So I would take any questions you have. Otherwise, I'd seek your approval of these three new teachers.
The only thing I just noticed is we have Amber listed as Cordell, but she's also listed as Bogard. Do we have a matter? So in our memo, it was Bogard, but we're proposing as Cordell. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. Her married name is Bogard. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
go Bogard.
Let's go Bogard, whoever reads this one, please. Okay. Any questions or any comments? All right, do I have a motion?
I move for the hiring, a recommendation for John Zemer, Amber Bogard, and Scott Gartman.
Second.
All in favor of the hirings as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. We have no leaves, right?
No leaves.
All right. Upcoming activities, busy time of year. All right, so Tuesday, May 30th, it's so crazy to me that that's a week away. We have the graduation walk. So I don't know if any of you or all of you have been able to participate in that. It's really fun. It's really cool. So the graduates leave PHS doors at 8:50 and do the walk around campus. So if you are able to come and cheer them on, that'd be great. Wednesday, June 7th, we have the Asa Clark Middle School promotion on the football field at 6. Okay, Friday, June 9th is the end of year celebration. So that starts at 11:45 when lunch is served. And then the program starts, I believe, at 12:45. where we honor the retirees, such.
Yes.
Okay, so, Julie, you don't need an RSVP on that, do you, or do you? We're good, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. And then that evening is the high school graduation ceremony in the gym at 7. And then the following Monday, we have our business affairs and our school board meeting. And then we meet 2 weeks later, just no committee, school board. And then we'll have a policy meeting in July. And then the WASB Summer Institute is in July, if anyone wants to
Yes,
go.
like the
14th, 15th.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Just a note that, reminder that June 26th, Danielle and I will be absent from the meeting
Oh, right.
because we have a team going to Washington DC for AASA conference. So just a reminder that that's coming up. Also, do we know which board members are going to help with diplomas on June 9th?
Got it? Okay, all right.
Danielle, is this something that board members should be made aware of?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
What is
We
that?
did, we got invited to the Insight, what do
Oh,
they call
yeah.
it,
Yes.
open house?
Yeah, it's on
So
May
there's
31st,
3
May 23rd.
days. I can go on Wednesday and Friday. I love those things. I love the professionalism of those students, just always floors me. So you should have all gotten an invitation in your email. If you're able to do it, wonderful. You know, and obviously there's 6 sessions, but whatever. If you can make some of them, that would be great. Thank you, Larry. All right. Moving on to committee selections. Okay. So starting with the Business Affairs Committee, I have Jeannie, thank you, Jeannie, for being flexible, and Mary. Policy Committee will be Larry, Bren, and Ashley. And then the Goal Committee, so Board of Education and Superintendent Goal Committee, correct me if I missed somebody. I have Bren, Jane, Larry, and I would like to be involved in that. Mary or Jeannie, are you interested in that one? or-
interested in that also.
You were, sorry, Jeannie, okay.
Yeah, other than, I mean, if we do it somewhat.
So
similar
then
to
go ahead, sorry.
What we did last year, we kind of like had 4 or 5 people there, so it was more than just the typical 3.
Mm-hmm. Right,
But then Mike also was engaged in that, so we kind of brought together and talked about the different things that we use to create the board and superintendent goals. One of the things was really the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and exit survey results, other things that we are considering in terms of our strategic plan for the school district kind of stuff. So that's like held in July, August kind of timeframe. So that if that was the same model, then we can open it up to a few more people too. So it wasn't limited just to the 3 people that we typically did in the past. And I really like the idea of Mike being there because we had good dialogue between board and superintendent goals and, you know, making sure that we were on the same page with that stuff, so.
so Julie, that just means we have to publicize and, yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'd post that regardless, and I had a thought and I lost it, so never mind.
Okay,
It
in
went
2
out my head.
minutes when it pops in, just share it. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the committees? No? Okay. The evaluation survey. So we did this 1 year, last year. I liked it. I thought it was valuable. Julie included the survey as it stood last year. I looked through it. I really didn't, I thought it was good. I didn't think of anything that I thought needed to be updated. Does anyone have any comments or questions about that?
It was good. I think it was hard to fill out because we were new, like by a month, but I still think it was a good exercise to go through it, to kind of start getting immersed into the board and action. So I think it adds value.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't hurt us to do it, right? So, I mean, it becomes a discussion item and could potentially, again, feed into board goals, superintendent goals, so.
And no one, I don't know if you all took a chance or had a chance to look at it, but if anyone has any changes, we can discuss or suggestions. Good? Okay.
So Stacy, should everyone, they should go in and do this survey then? And do we have like an end date by which you should complete it?
Mm-hmm.
It's open already now, right? So
Yeah.
Can we do abstentions for those of us who are much more than just new? Like
I would like you
barely
to,
here.
I would appreciate your input even, I mean,
I've got nothing constructive yet. I'm just not going to be able to be of any.
well, you've
Substantial
participated in
use.
some meetings, so you'll know about agendas and topics and how we run meetings. I mean, I feel like there is things that you can contribute, and you can not answer some of the questions if you feel you're not.
I would prefer to abstain.
Okay.
So then would you like this back on the agenda for the next meeting in June, second meeting in June? How soon would you like this back on the agenda so you can discuss results?
I mean, how quickly can
Candace
Candace get
Candace,
results?
work
I
your
can-
magic.
I can check with her, I don't, I'm kind of presuming, and I probably shouldn't do that without talking to Candace first, but I don't think this is a real complicated one for her to process, but why don't we plan on maybe because I think it's already a pretty light agenda, that second meeting in June, and if she's able to process it in time, would you prefer it on the first one?
You're gone on the second one.
I won't be at the first meeting in June.
Okay,
Okay, well then let's shoot for the second one.
yeah, I think it's
Okay.
okay if that's, gives John something to sink his teeth into.
And we'll have a really long discussion so John doesn't get us out of here really
That's
early.
right, because he tends to set the record. So, second meeting, so
Yeah.
we'll plan on that second meeting in June, okay.
And then, do you want to ask her if she would, I mean, like, do you guys think we could get it done in the next 8-9 days? Like, get it done by the end of May? Let's do that. Let's target the end of May for ourselves, get it done, and then Candace will have a good chunk of time.
Julie will send out little reminders to us, right?
She does, she manages well. All right, legislative update. Do you have anything?
Not much has changed in the.
We'd anticipated this week that we would start seeing introduction of the education materials, but I believe shared revenue is taking up a lot of the time in Madison right now, so I would anticipate in the next week, shortly after Memorial Day, we'll see what some of the proposals are and what some of the debate is about on the education bills, and we'll be able to speak with more information as to how that impacts us as a district at that time.
Yeah, we're anxious everybody's anxious to find out what the funding's gonna look like. Again, once we get the legislative recommended biennium budget bill, I mean, that gives us a sense of where they are, but we're still far from home in terms of one getting passed because, the whole work between the governor and the legislature will happen. And then, of course, there's line item vetoes and all that kind of stuff that could be in play. But it'll certainly be helpful to see the initial, just so we have a sense where the legislature's at, and then see where it goes from there. So, and the other was just the piece that I put in the DA report for you about my communication regarding the bill sponsored by Representative Kitchens on reading, and just I communicated with Senator Kappenga, Representative Nalen, State Superintendent Underly, and Governor Evers regarding that, and just the position that we've talked about, that we would not want to see mandates in regard to this.
Okay, moving on to our discussion about what am I saying, COSBA? Is that what we're calling it? COSBA? Whether
Why
we.
do I feel like saying rock the Cosmo? Sorry, couldn't resist.
Do you guys have any thoughts that you wanna, I mean, it's included for us.
It's free.
It's free.
I already know what we should present.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So.
Here we go.
Sorry.
Danielle's
looking
getting her
at me,
pen
so
out.
I'm getting a pen out.
So January at WASB, we presented both those topics, the post-secondary success while in high school and measuring your graduate profile. I was at both of them. I thought they were excellent, well-attended, very well-received. And that wasn't presented at NSBA. So this would be new at CASBA. And you could put little tweaks to it. So I just thought they were great. I think they would be really wonderful to present at CASBA.
Totally open to that.
Certainly makes it easy.
Sounds
If
great
we
to
already
me.
have one in the
Yeah.
hopper.
Yeah.
We have some in the hopper.
And so I actually agree with her, especially on the graduate profile, because that was the one in 2020 that you were going to present, which got canceled.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you have not presented that at the national level. Am I correct?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Another idea, you could take the one that you presented at NSBA and present that at COSBA, because that's gonna be a different group.
Right, so that's both of those that we had presented at WASD.
WASD.
So
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we can do both. So Adriana and I can certainly tweak those and yeah.
I think if I remember now, I mean, they've already got something like 23 or 24 of the state associations have already aligned with COSBA. So I mean, NSBA kind of worked themselves out of existence almost.
That's COSBA, but we also have WASB.
What's that?
Oh, right,
We
for
also have
topics.
WASB, which those would be repeats for.
New topics there though, right?
Have you done the coaching one? Oh, yeah, you did. I thought that was a good topic too.
And this may be Danielle, where are we at with kind of the work that you're doing with the 4K program? Is there content around that? That would be
Yeah,
of interest?
yeah, I mean, we did present at WASB on 4K 2 years ago, but I mean, we certainly have, we have more data. We could kind of take the lens on that around the idea of building background knowledge. I think that's kind of a hot topic with some of the literacy stuff going on. You know, and I just saw some, and we'll have our research, so we could potentially see if Dr. White,
I like that idea.
who, you know, is the
Yeah.
one who's doing the research project on our 4K program through Mount Mary, if she would be interested in potentially presenting with us, or at least being in attendance to answer any questions. So her results would be done by the fall, but I know enough to be able to speak and put together the presentation proposal right now.
I like
Would-
that idea.
Yeah, but we also have some really good results from what Brian and folks were saying in terms of the 4K to 5K to first
Yeah,
grade.
I just saw some results this morning and they're amazing.
I know, I
So-
mean, that's an awesome thing to be
Yeah.
able to show
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And again, it ties in very nicely with that whole literacy and.
We also have some new stuff. In fact, we just met on it today and finalized it. It's been in draft form for a little bit. We have a 6-year strategic plan for that program. We're in year 3 of that and stuff, but we actually have a document now that shows our 6-year strategic plan for how to roll out that program. So we could take it
4K?
for 4K.
That program?
So we could take a, you know, kind of process lens to it as well, which I think is always a popular topic at any of the school board pieces.
Do you know, and I'm sorry, I'm throwing this at you without prepping you, but how many schools have visited about 4K?
Boy, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, I know we're working with a district in California. We've had, at least, oh God, I mean, just,
That I'm aware
I
of,
had a
yeah.
list for a while. Like, I mean, we've had probably a dozen or more for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
John, are you going to present on school finance?
Usually those recommendations will come out through WASBO, and I'll get the call and say, here's a topic, put something together. So,
You're,
it's been about 5 years at WASB now in a row that I've been presenting there along with John Stangler. He presents multiple sessions there also on behalf of WASBO.
Another one that I think's, that could be for the future, we're not there yet because it's too early, but I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve, a little bit ahead of the curve on AI, and it'll be interesting to see where we go with artificial intelligence stuff. Danielle's pretty informed and up on up on that. So I don't think we're probably in a spot.
Yeah,
to-
I've been asked to put in a proposal to the National AASA conference to present on AI, so I've done that. So I feel like, next year, like, I think we would be in a well-positioned for that
Can you
topic.
tell me what those letters mean again?
It's the National States,
It's-
National
it's-
Superintendent's
it's the National
Association.
Superintendents,
Okay.
yeah, it's the National Conference on Education.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they keep scheduling all of these at really bad times for me, so we really are
So then
leaning on
Danielle goes.
Yeah, so then I go.
Because that's like wrestling regionals or
Yeah.
sectionals, and Cosmo's like wrestling state. So,
Just note that my travel is representing multiple people in the
Yes.
district.
And all these
It's not
different
just
hats.
me. Yeah.
2026, though, I'm in.
All right, so we're staying with COSBA, we're gonna go to COSBA. I guess we don't have to decide right now if we're renewing NASB, because
That's in, like
yeah,
December.
that can be another discussion, but those points we're in agreement on, okay. All right, do we have any comments from citizens? All right, so then we need to go into a closed session. And I need to do a roll call vote. Larry, right?
Do we need a motion to do
Do
that?
I need to go, motion first? Sorry,
Yes, you need a motion.
sorry, need motion.
Let's go. I move to go into closed session per section 19.85(1)(f) of the Wisconsin statutes, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary considerations of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations, specifically to consider a complaint filed against a district employee under School Board Policy 2000.07.
Second.
All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. No, this is where I do the vote.
This is a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, sorry. Larry?
Yes.
Yes.
Bren?
Yes.
Ashley? Mary?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
I'm a yes. All right, so we are in closed session.